Good morning, good day, good night. This is the Bear. You know when you have, you're in love with somebody, and you've been in love with them for 2 years, you're absolutely enamored. They're everything to you. You can't believe that somebody so incredible exists, and you enjoy that time like it can never end, and then bad month 1 happens, and bad month 2, and you're fighting, and you're struggling, and you don't even think you recognize the person that you loved is still there. And you struggle through it, and there are just threads holding you together, and you wade through the tears, and you feel like it's about to break, and then they do something. And they do something that reminds you of everything, and you know from that moment that you will never fall out of love with them again. That's how I felt about episode 10. It was absolutely beautiful. I can't remember much from episode 9. I'm supposed to talk about both of them in this episode, but episode 10 did so much, and did so much for me, and did so much for the world. I can't fault it in any way. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And though disparaging I might have been for some of the episodes, and some of the slower or weaker writing, and some moments when it seemed to lose its identity, the Bear in episode 10 has just done everything that it needed to do to keep me on board for the rest of eternity. So if you haven't seen it yet, then go see it. And for those who have, we can have a bit of a discussion here, but it is really something that you experience more than you analyze. And that's something that I seem to be learning a lot about life in general nowadays. So The Bear, episode 10, we have had in this season some ups and downs, and at least one thing that I remember from episode 9 is Richie on the bench talking to Tiff about attending the wedding and talking about their daughter, and we had the facts show up at Claire's work and try to rope her back into the Carmen Berzatto drama. But then in season 10 we start out with really a funeral. It's a funeral for the beautiful restaurant that Carmy worked at, and where Richie had his great moment and one of the best episodes in TV history. And it's closing. And so there's a lot swirling around this. And my God, can I just say that I didn't know that we would ever see Olivia Colman again. I thought maybe she just had a moment or two that she would get to share, and she'd get to step in and then step back out, and she wouldn't be back. But Olivia Colman in this episode, oh my gosh, it was so refreshing. Just to start where we need to start, so I don't get ahead of myself here. The episode begins with a beautiful cold open with what I'm sure is a celebrity chef that I just do not, or at least maybe not necessarily a celebrity chef, because that seems derogatory in some ways. Just a great chef who is making an appearance. And showing Carmy, it's Carmy's first day at a restaurant, and he's showing him how to remove the wishbone from a chicken because Carmy has to do family meal for the restaurant on his first day. So there's a lengthy scene, and they're going through all the parts and the motions and the methods to be able to remove this bone and the things that he needs to be aware of with the chicken. And it's such a heartfelt and wonderful instruction and back and forth. It's one of those things that just seems so genuine that it makes you appreciate the world. It makes you appreciate people. It makes you appreciate the things that you get a chance to do and the people that you get to meet. I was so happy in seeing this scene, and it really put me in the right headspace to experience the rest of the episode. So going forward, it was unlike anything that I ever imagined it would be. Like I said, it was a kind of funeral for this restaurant that was closing, and it had so many I'm going to say it again, it had so many great chefs that are well known throughout the world, and so many of the guest stars that we've seen throughout the other seasons. Now, I'm not especially well versed in the culinary arts, so there were only a couple that I recognized, but I recognized the chef, whose name I don't even know. But it's a restaurant that I've wanted to, ever since I was a kid and heard about it. It's a restaurant that I've wanted to go to and I haven't had a chance, but it's in Chicago, and I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's either Alinea or Alinea. But I remember reading about and just watching everything that I could about this restaurant, where one of the standout dishes was a balloon, an actual edible balloon that they would bring with helium in it, so it was floating. that you could eat. There was another dish that was a bird's nest, and what you didn't realize is that it was cooking underneath the bird's nest, and when you went into it, then you found out what you got to eat. But there were a million courses like that. The guy is an absolute artist, and he's very recognizable. And he has this this scene where Will Poulter's character, and you remember him from season 2 when Marcus went to learn about desserts. And so he goes there and he works with Will Poulter's character for a while to learn about desserts. And this character is talking to this extremely accomplished chef and, like I said, an artist, and just asking him about dish after dish after dish, trying to get, how did you do that? And how did you put the pins in this cushion that was one of these dishes, and were there other flavors for the balloons before? And he's just going on over and over and over again until eventually the chef says, I've got to go over here, and shuts it down. Will Poulter was fantastic to have. There was some kind of a weird balance that came out of him as a character and as an actor. He's an actor that I've liked very much ever since the first time I saw him. And in this, it was odd. When he was in I think it was the first episode of season 2, when he showed up in that, and they were shooting him in the kitchen, he looked like a superhero, and his mannerisms, and there was very much something about the way that he functioned that it felt superhero-like, larger than life. And then in this episode, he was much more grounded, first in being a fangirl of this particular chef, but then later when he's talking to Sydney and the other chefs, and they're all just reminiscing about stories. And he just has this grounding effect where I really like him as a character. I really like the actor too. And when he's interacting with the characters that you already love, it just feels so comfortable and you appreciate it. And I was so happy that he was in this episode. It was great. Then you also have, like I said, tons and tons of chefs that are extremely accomplished make it into this episode. And I would have to go do some research to know all of the ones that made it. But there was also Will Guidara, who I looked it up. He co-wrote on one of the episodes, at least one of the episodes. And he's the author of Unreasonable Hospitality, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And the proprietor, or I'm not sure what his particular title is, of 11 Madison Park, one of the greatest restaurateurs of all time. And the reason that I knew it was him, because I didn't know what he looked like, but the reason I knew it was him was because he referenced a story that was in the book where he talks about how his father made him write down what he wanted at like age 13. So he got him started very early. But there are extended scenes where all of these chefs are talking with Sid and Will Poulter's character, and they're just talking about all these stories related to their profession, and it was amazing. It all seemed genuine. I don't think any of it was scripted, honestly. I think they were just sitting around talking about their profession. And then Will Guidara gives this wonderful speech about what it means to be in this business and how you stay motivated and how important it is for people to have a little magic nowadays. And it hit me so hard. I forgave every fault that came before in the show. And then it was just icing on the top everything else that happened in the episode. So there's one part where Carmy is staring machine gun bullets at the chef, who is played by, I know the actor's name, but I'm just going to call him the guy from Community because that's what I remember him from. And he's just staring at him, and you see that he has these emotions going on. And Will Poulter asks him, what are you looking at? And Sid's wondering too and asking him what's going on. And he says he's just looking at him, and he calls him an asshole and every name in the book. And then he stands up, the guy from Community stands up, and everybody knows who I'm talking about. He was in earlier episodes. He stands up and he's going to the bathroom or something, and then Carmy says he's standing up and stands up himself. And then Sid's like, this is not a good idea. So then Carmy follows him to the bathroom and says, "Chef," and is going to have his big moment to confront this guy. We've had 2 seasons of this specter, this evil ghost that has been haunting Carmy and caused so many of his pathologies and his concerns and these panic attacks and his inability to have a life beyond this thing that he has to do. It's been seasons of this that have been messing with him and pushing him and dragging him down and messing up his relationships, all of those things all at once. And this guy is the embodiment of everything that is. And he's looking him in the face right now. And it's a Mad Men moment. It's that moment in the elevator where the guy says something about how, I think about you all the time, or I'm concerned, I hate you, and I have all these thoughts about you. And Don Draper responds with, I don't think about you at all. And then he walks out of the elevator. It's an incredible moment in that show. And in this show, it's much the same in that he calls him the wrong name and he tells him he doesn't think about him. Where Carmy, he's so locked in to the point of embarrassment, to the point of it being embarrassing that he's so locked in on this person and saying, why did you do this? Why are you like this? How could you act like this? How could you be this person? How could you be so terrible to somebody and to everybody? And the guy says, everything that I did made you great. That's what you wanted. It made you great. And look where you are now. Look at the party that you're at now. Look how much you've accomplished now. And I think the community actor absolutely did perfect. He was perfect in the way that he responded, in how he responded to Carmy's aggression and frustration and all of the emotional hang-ups that were dangling from everything that Carmy was. I think his response was perfect. And eventually he winds him back down and just says, I'm going to go take a piss. And that's the end of that scene. It was wonderful. It was such a great, balanced episode where you have these big moments for Carmy. You have Sid. Oh my gosh, she was gorgeous in this, number one. But beyond being absolutely gorgeous, she has this maturity in her acting now that she did not have in season 1 and did not have in season 2. She has this maturity now that she carries through all the scenes and still manages to have some character in the background that I absolutely love. In this episode especially, there was something just magical about watching her do her thing. When she and Will Poulter, they're just sitting in the kitchen. They both have a glass, or he has water, she has wine. I wonder if that's a character setup kind of thing. But they're drinking and they're just talking. They're just joking. They're just having a good time together. And I wondered if there would be a romance that would be budding there. But beyond that, it was so amazing and lovely and wonderful to see her in these moments where she just gets to interact with other chefs and have fun and make jokes, and she's interested, but she still feels like a peer to the people who are there. And it's wonderful. And when she's sitting at the table and she's asking questions and she's making jokes, it's like everything fits together just right. And then she has a wonderful moment toward the end, because during the episode she's pulled aside by that one chef who wants to give her practically her own restaurant, and she still can't make a decision. She still can't say, yes, I'm going to do it, or no, I'm not going to do it. She just kicks it down the road because she's not sure. She doesn't know what she wants to do. And it's understandable. She has been wed to everything with the beef and the bear and Carmy for a very long time, and it was something that pulled her out of what she was. So now she has to figure out, is it what I want to do to abandon that? And when they have a party, so, oh my gosh, there's so many great things. But, so she, for her purposes, they have a party back at her apartment and everybody comes over. Olivia Colman and Marcus shows up, and the Facts and a bunch of people from the old restaurant. So like, Chef Jesse, who was managing the staff at the big restaurant, who's friends with Richie now, and Richie's there. And so they're having this party. They don't have any food. They're trying to make food. Olivia Colman is, oh my God, Olivia Colman is so good in this. She was absolutely amazing. I am looking forward, the most that I'm looking forward to out of this entire season is seeing Olivia Colman again, and that second half of Tina's episode. But seeing Olivia Colman again, I can't wait in this episode. She was fantastic. There's this incredible balance of everything that she is when it comes to this character and her as an actress and everything that she's been through and all that. But this is about Sydney. So they're making stuff, they're pulling out pizza, like frozen pizza and all the worst foods, and trying to do it up like chefs would. And in the midst of this, Sid, she closes the fridge and sees something that's a reference to the bear or the beef that's on her fridge. There's a little story that she had saved and put up there, and it hits her. It triggers her right there, and she eventually has to leave the party, and she steps outside. I thought that she was going out to call the guy or call Carmy and let them know that she was going to take the job. But instead, she just has an absolute breakdown. She's hyperventilating and crying and just can't pull it together all by herself in a hallway, trying to deal with this decision that she has to make. And it was an amazing, amazing moment. Then, like I said, you have Olivia Colman, who is kind of the centerpiece of this whole episode, because the question is, why is she shutting it down? She has everything that Carmy and Sid and Will Poulter's character and everybody else is working for. She already has it. So why? What is worth it to shut that down now when you already have it? And you end up with this moment after she gives a speech, and she doesn't have a spoon, so she taps her glass on her Rolex. She makes sure to mention that fact. But she ends up seeing out into Chicago. There's a garage that's open, and Carmy's there, and she walks up behind him, and they're having a conversation. And it's wonderful because it's the Windy City, obviously, and you hear the wind. I don't know if they added that in there, but you hear the wind in the Windy City as they're standing there talking, and they have a great conversation. And she talks about why she's closing the place, and he asks her questions, and she asks him questions. And she has a line about, because Carmy asks her, okay, what should I do? He says, if you were me and you could go back and talk to yourself, tell yourself something at my stage, at my age, then what would you tell me? And she said, that's a really, really tough one. But the thing that I would say is you have no idea what you're doing, so you're invincible. And what a concept that is. And I don't know how Carmy took it. He kind of moves on, but they have this back and forth, and he asks, why are you closing this thing down? And she just says that she wants to live life. She wants to do all those things. She wants to have people, and she wants to go to London. And those are all the things that she wants to do instead of what she has been doing. So it's got, again, this is what great storytelling is. This is what great writing is, because it questions everything that Carmy is and everything that he is doing right in front of his face and right in front of the viewer. It's questioning all those things. It's not that straightforward. It's not about, the only thing that you need to worry about is getting your great restaurant and putting the work in. It's not about that. There's more to it. There's more complexity. There's more texture. There's more emotion. There are more things that you need to be doing. And obviously that's important for Carmy, for his emotional development and everything that he's doing and everything related to Claire and everything else. But it's also just important as a concept, as something that the viewer needs to hear, as something that every character needs to abide by and understand. So that was a great moment. And like I said, definitely there were a couple of good episodes throughout the season, but this one was the one that made me fall in love again. So I don't care what happens for the rest of the show. It makes no difference to me. I'm going to say that it's consequential so that people will still maybe listen to these episodes, if they are anyway. But in reality, this was something that really solidified it for me. It was this episode and having all these wonderful chefs and this freewheeling conversation where you get to hear real people talking about their real experiences. It was really, really, truly incredible and amazing, and I loved it, loved it, loved it. So, for anybody who hasn't seen it, I would recommend, of course. For anybody who has, let me know what you think about it. I'm happy to get into the nitty-gritty if we really want to get down to it. And please, let's remember, and let's try to be sincere and realize that is the basis of everything that humans are. And every time we are insincere, every time we're cynical, every time we don't do something that reaffirms the value and importance of people in general, it's not worth it, and it's undermining what makes us special. So having said all that and put it into very, very dramatic terms, I hope all is well. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you on the next one. All right, bye.